So today we're going to take a look at voice leading triads on the guitar, and we're going to use some of the shapes and voicings that we've covered in previous videos. If you haven't seen those, I have videos of triads on all of the string sets on my channel. So let's dive in. Voice leading is a practice where you move between either chords or single notes with as little movement as possible. So it kind of makes harmony or your melodies sound smoother. And to give you a quick example, let's say I was playing a 1-4-5 chord progression in the key of C major. So that would be C, F would be my 4 chord, and G would be my 5. So if I were to not voice lead this and just move between root position chords, it would sound something like this. C, F, G. So nothing wrong with that example at all, but if I wanted to voice lead it, this is what it would sound like. It would sound something more like this. So I'm hoping that you could hear the difference there, where I'm moving kind of smoothly between these chords. So rather than this big kind of thing that's going on, I get this effect if I voice lead. So all those chords are closer together. And so the way that you achieve a voice leading, at least with harmony, is by utilizing different chord inversions. And so what I'm doing when I played that, and I'll break it down for you, is I have this C major in root position, so I've got 10, 9, 8 on the D, G, and B strings. And from here I went to a 5th and bass, F major chord, or F major triad, so now I have 10, 10, 10 on those same strings. And then for my G, I play a 3rd and bass, so I'm 9, 7, 8. And then I go back to my C. And so I can play all 4 of these chords that previously I was, jumping all over the neck to play. I can play them within a span of 4 frets. And again, I hope this is kind of coming across that this is maybe a smoother way to transition between chords. It is by no means better than just following root motion. Like, root motion definitely has its place where it's a little bit more dramatic. These shifts feel bigger. But when I voice lead, it kind of feels like everything's just kind of falling into place, where I'm moving as little as possible. So to take that same example of C, F, G, I did that with starting from a root position C chord. Now let's take that same idea and let's try to apply it to, let's say, a 5th and bass C major chord. So if I start here, my voice leading, if I want to move as little as possible, would end up being C major. Then I would go to F with my 3rd and bass. So the C major is 5, 5, 5 on those same set of strings. Then I would go to F with the 5th and the bass. Or sorry, the 3rd and the bass, misspoke there. And this is 7, 5, 6. And now if I want to get to G that's as close as possible, I'm going to this G chord here, which is just root position, so 5, 4, 3. And then I could come back to my C major there. So my chord progression in action would sound like this. Beautiful. Now, I have one more inversion, because obviously when we're working with inversions of triads are called triads because they have 3 notes. I've started with my root in the bass, which was up here. I've done my starting from a 5th in the bass. My one last position to check out is going to be my 3rd in the bass, which C is a bit of an awkward key to do this in. So I'm going to do this actually in the key of F. So a 1-4-5 in the key of F would contain the chords F major, B flat, and then C. So my F major chord, if I'm starting from 3rd in the bass, I have this shape, which is 7, 5, 6 on the same 3 strings we've been looking at, the D, G, and the B. So if I go from here, I want to get to a B flat chord. Root position is going to be my closest one. And then to get to C, I'm going to pull in that 5th and bass chord again. There's my 5 chord, 5th and bass, so 5, 5, 5, and then it comes back to this F with my 3rd in the bass. So I get this. Beautiful. And so a really good exercise for these, we'll look at them on one other set of strings, but a really good way to kind of sap some more out of this is to go, say, do it from each starting point. So say, let's change keys again to something that might be easier to follow up the neck. I'm going to use the key of G major. So now my 1, 4, 5 is going to be G to C to D. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to voice lead that through all of my various starting points on G major. So my first one's going to be root position. So I have 5, 4, 3, G major. It's going to go to C, which is 5th in bass, 5, 5, 5. Then I go to D major with the 3rd in the bass. So now I'm on 4, 2, 3, and then I'd come back to that G. So now if I were to do the same thing from a 3rd in the bass, I have 9, 7, 8 are my frets. There's my G with the 3rd in the bass. My C major is root position. I'm playing 10, 9, 8. And then for D, I get that 5th in the bass, so it's just 7, 7, 7, and then back to G with the 3rd in the bass. So, and then my final starting point would be this G major here with my 5th in the bass, so 12, 12, 12. For C, I grab this 3rd in the bass, so I'm on the 14th, 12th, and 13th fret. Then for D, it's root position, and then I come back to that G. So if I were to do this loosely in time, it might sound like this. Then and if we were to do a similar thing on a different set of strings, let's say now we do it on the A, D, G strings. I'm going to do that same thing kind of quickly for you. I'll walk you through each chord shape, and we'll use the key of D major. So in D major, I would be going, D is my 1 chord, G is my 5 chord, my 4 chord, and A is my 5 chord. This exercise on these strings would look like this. I start out here, there's my D, 5th in bass for my G, and then when I go to my 3rd in bass for my A, so that was 5, 4, 2, 5, 5, 4, then I ended up on 4, 2, 2, and then back. Now that same thing starting from a 3rd in bass D major, I'm now on 9, 7, 7. My G major, so this is a 3rd in bass. Now root position G major, 10, 9, 7. Then my A is going to have the 5th in the bass, so it's going to be 7, 7, 6. And then I'm going to go back to my 7, 9, 9. Or 9, 7, 7. Flip it around. So made it by the skin of my teeth to that last chord. And then finally, we end up with our 5th in bass for our D major, so I've got 12, 12, 11. Then I'm going to go to a G with my 5th in the bass, 3rd in the bass. This is 14, 12, 12. And then I end up on a root position A major, which is 12, 11, 9. And then I'd come back to my home of D major with the 5th in the bass. So that's just how you would harmonize it with a 1, 4, 5. But my favorite way to kind of get some mileage out of this is to not just apply it to, chord progressions that, like a 1, 4, 5 is kind of the basis of Western harmony. But I love to apply it to actual songs that I'm working on. And this is something I always encourage my students to do. So this idea would be, let's take, for example, Another very famous chord progression. That's the chord progression for hundreds of thousands of songs. The 1-5-6-4 chord progression. So this chord progression is like it's Basket Case by Green Day. It's the one, if you've ever seen one of those videos where people sing a bunch of different melodies over the same chords, this is that chord progression. So it would have 1 major, 6 minor, or sorry, 1 major, 5 major, 6 minor, and then 4 major. So let's try this just in the key of C. I would have, well, I'll do it all root position first, and I'm back on my D, G, and B strings. So C major, G major, A minor, F major. Those are my chords. So if I start here, my next chord needs to be a G, so I'm using my thinking, I'm looking at Gs I can go to. If I go up 2 frets, I get here. If I go back 1 fret, I can get this G chord, which is a great one. Now from here, I need to get to A minor, so I'm maybe going to come up to this, which is a minor chord with my 3rd in the bass. I've got my C in the bass there. And then I need to get to F major from here, which is a very convenient one. I just raise this 7th fret to the 8th fret, and then I'm back at my C right afterwards. So I'll do that again, and I'll tell you kind of what frets I'm playing. So I'm starting with this root position C major, and I've got 10, 9, 8 from the D string to the B string. That's going to fall to 9, 7, 8 for my G major with the 3rd in the bass. This is going to climb to A minor with the 3rd in the bass. So this is 10, 9, 10. And then my F chord is just 10, 10, 10 right across. So this chord progression that not voice led sounds like this. Sounds like this if I voice lead it. Alright, and then of course, like we did before, I can do this in as many positions as or not as many positions as I like. There's 2 other ones I could explore. That would be here, then I get here, here, here. So that was C with my 5th in the bass. So that's 5, 5, 5. Then 5, 4, 3 for my G major in root position. 7, 5, 5 for my A minor in root position. And then it's 7, 5, 6 to become my F major, that guy. And then my other position would be C major way up here with my 3rd in the bass, so I'm on 14, 12, 13. It's going to fall to G major in root position, or sorry, 5th in bass, which is 12, 12, 12. A minor, 14, 14, 13. And then my F is going to be root position, which is 14, 13, my F is going to end up being root position, which is 15, 14, 13. So that's... And I can do this, you can do this with any chord progression you like, where voice leading is basically just trying to find the smoothest way possible to move through the chords. So there's that principle with a couple different triad shapes. I have videos on all of the triad shapes that I used on my channel if you look for them. And each of those videos also has a blog post on my website where you can download these triad diagrams for free. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. It helps me out more than you could know. If you'd like to take a guitar lesson with me, I work with all levels and all genres of students, and I've actually been working with a bunch of you from YouTube lately, and it's been a great blast to connect. So I'd love to work with you if you're in the market for guitar lessons. And lastly, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day, and I hope you have some fun playing the guitar.